Hey, what's going on, everyone? Dan Wanis here with the Daily Fantasy Press. In this podcast, I'm going to be breaking down the 2017 PGA Championship hosted at Quail Hollow Golf Club in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am actually going to be on site next week all the way through Sunday. So if any of you guys are going to be out there, let me know. It'd be great to meet up. The course looks to be in great condition. We will be touching on weather, but it's going to be hot. It's in Charlotte. It's August. They have heat and humidity this time of the year, and I don't think we are going to be avoiding it. So let's get into the course high level. It's a par 71 coming in at 7,600 yards. Last year's champion was Jimmy Walker. He won out at Baltusrol. And as you guys know, the PGA Championship changes venues every year. So be careful when you're looking at history. You want to be looking at Quail Hollow course history, not PGA Championship. So just to let you guys know. Now getting into the scorecard here. Quail Hollow has hosted the Wells Fargo Championship for a number of years. They did not host the 2017 Wells Fargo Championship at Quail. There have actually been quite a bit of course renovation to Quail in the last year. All the bent grass was removed on the greens and replaced with Championship Bermuda. Now, the greens, from what I have read, dry up immediately in the heat, even if you get some rain overnight. And trying to stop the ball on the court or on the greens is almost like putting on concrete. So these greens are going to play fast. They're growing the rough out. Once I'm there on site Monday, I will be updating you guys with course conditions, pictures of the course, and some of the practice rounds I'm able to follow. So 4 holes were modified and or moved in a very aggressive 90-day renovation. This was led by Tom Fazio and the help of Kerry Haig. He's the tournament director at PGA of America. Quail Hollow officials determined that they need to change the grass on the greens to deal with some of the imperfections in past years. In 2013, the greens were just awful. They weren't consistent. They were drying up, and this tournament, Wells Fargo, is typically held in early May. So now that we're in the heat of summer, those bent grass greens were not going to hold up for the week. So that's a reasoning for the change. The course was closed for 3 months after the conclusion of the 2016 Wells Fargo. And some of the renovations included hole number 1 is now a par 4, 540 yards with a dog leg. So coming right out of the gate, you've got a long par 4. And it's going to be a challenge for these guys. A new par 3 was built to replace hole number 2, which was eliminated to extend that first hole for the added length. Hole 5 was formerly a par 5. This is now a par 4 dog leg off to the right. And then hole number 11, there were bunkers added, and the green was also pushed back. So there was some length added to the 11th hole. Now, some other things to note, there were over 1,000 trees removed this last year, also with the renovations. And to go on, Green Mile is the finishing 3 holes, a very tough stretch. It starts off with the 16th. It's a par 4, 506 yards, and it's a dogleg right off the tee. But then as you approach the green, you're basically hitting to a green that's off to the left on the lake's edge. So plenty of room for trouble on this hole. Next, you have the par 3 17th. You carry water the entire way to the green. It's 223 yards in length. If you're going to miss, you want to bail right. And that's where a lot of players are gonna be aiming. And finally, you have the 18th hole. It's a par 4, 494 yards. And this one goes right back to the clubhouse, and there is a creek running along it. So yeah, really tough stretch with Green Mile. Some other things to note. Rory's course history here is insane. I'm going to be touching on it in just a bit. And as I was mentioning, there are 4 par 4s over or right around 500 yards. So this leads me to key stats. First, we're going to be leaning on strokes gained, tee to green, as usual. There you see it next. Par 4 scoring with yardage over 500 yards. I just want guys that can handle this length. There's just so many long par 4s on this course that we're not used to seeing, that I want the best long par 4 scores. Also, bogey avoidance, strokes gained off the tee, greens in regulation, par 5 scoring. And lastly, you can see strokes gained putting on Bermuda grass. I would take a peek at this. Don't weight it too heavily, but I think it's good to identify who putts well on it, and could be at an advantage this weekend. Now, looking at the weather, I'm recording this Thursday night, the week before the tournament, so this could all change. It looks like temps are going to range from the mid-80s to 90 degrees. Winds don't look to be an issue. Charlotte's a ways inland, so I would be surprised if winds are picked up, but as of now, just looks warm and humid. No surprises. We will be updating the forecast throughout the week on our Twitter. Now let's get into the picks. First, I'm going to be showing you guys strokes gained, tee to green, and we use fantasynational.com for our stats. It is incredible. Our buddy Moose put this together, and he just did an incredible job with this. So you can break down by stat categories, courses, grass type over your last 12, 24, 36, 50 rounds. So you can either have short-term, long-term, whatever stats you want to put together. And then you can also weight them. They just added this feature, and it is just freaking awesome. So I highly encourage you guys to look around at the site, and you can come up with picks on your own using some of the key stats here and weight what you think is most important. So let's start off here. Henrik Stenson, he's priced at $9,800. He ranks 9th in the field his last 50 rounds, strokes gained tee to green, 28th off the tee, and 9th in par 4 scoring over 500 yards. Now, ever since the Arnold Palmer and his miscut and troubles with just hitting ball after ball into the water, he's been really low owned, and his results have been pretty mixed since then. He had a 16th place finish at the Players earlier in May. He missed the cut at the U.S. Open, and just 2 weeks ago at the British Open, he finished 11th. So I like where his game is headed. He's a ball striker. And I think he'll be able to maneuver the course well, keep up on those long par 4s over 500 yards. So I think Stenson, he'll be a low owned option this week, and I think he's coming around in his form. Next, Justin Rose, he is priced at $9,000. He's been top in gaining strokes at Quail Hollow when you look at his Quail Hollow history, but he's losing strokes on the greens. So he's going to be a guy, and those are the guys I like to target that have struggled with putting in the past. It's high variance, and he's only got, I believe it's 16 rounds at Quail Hollow. So it's a smaller sample size. He's ranked 16th in the field, strokes gained tee to green, 12th off the tee, and 17th in par 4 scoring over 500 yards. Last, John Rahm priced up at 10,100. He is ranked third in the field, strokes gained tee to green, fourth off the tee, and 12th in par 4 scoring over 500 yards. John Rahm's caddy is actually from the area, and I know people are going to continue saying this week that they're worried about John Rahm here for his first appearance. And in this entire year for him, he's been seeing these majority of the courses for the first time. And with his caddy being from around the area, I'm not worried about it. He's won 2 events this year. He really bounced back after his miscut at the U.S. Open and had some success over in Europe after that. So I think Rahm's in great form. I think his temperament on the golf course has been a lot different since that U.S. Open. So I think he's at least addressed those issues from what we have seen since then. So I'm confident in Rahm this week. Next, we have the course horses at Quail Hollow. Rory's history is just incredible at the Wells Fargo. He has 2 wins plus 5 top 10s in his last 5 starts. That is incredible. The news of him firing his caddy, I don't even want to say firing, splitting ways with his caddy. I'm not worried about. I think it's more of a thing that Rory's just really trying to own up to his game. When he's not playing well, he was taking it out on his caddy, and he just said that wasn't fair to him. So he's got a buddy on the bag now. He's playing well here for the WGC Bridgestone. The first round's complete, so keep that in mind also with some of this stuff. I know a lot of you guys are going to be listening to this after the event's completed. So I think Rory's game's in a great spot. He was low owned at WGC. I think he could be low owned relatively to some of these higher price guys, only because majority of the casual fans don't see, especially looking through game logs, his history here at Quail Hollow. So I could be completely wrong in that, and he's obviously going to be talked up by everyone with his course history among the touts. But for all those casual fans that purely just enter these majors looking at the game logs, they have no idea. So Rory at 11,800, very safe play this week. And yeah, I like Rory. Next we got Phil. He is coming off a miscut at the British Open, and he's someone that I think losing his caddy, especially a guy to the caliber of Bones, is actually affecting him. And at the British Open, I think it's a place where Bones really could have helped him. His brother, yes, he was a golf coach at Arizona State, but he is nowhere near the caddy knowledge that Bones had for Phil. So, but nonetheless, Phil's course history here is really good. He's got 5 top 15s with no missed cuts in his last 6 starts. And going back to the caddy thing, I think it's less of an issue this week, only because he knows the course. Yes, a couple holes have changed. It's not going to take him too long to figure those out. So, and Phil's been lower owned lately. He's going to be higher owned in the majors just because you bring the casual fans in, the name recognition with Phil. But I think he's another safe play. And really good on the greens. So I like Phil this week. Webb Simpson, he has 2 top 5s in his last 4 starts at Quail Hollow. He's also a member here. He's actually had a pretty solid year since missing the cut at the Masters. He has 4 top 15 finishes since then and made both cuts at the U.S. Open and the British Open. So Webb Simpson, he's priced down at 6,800. I would probably just reserve him for GPPs, but he does have good course history. He did miss the cut at the 2016 Wells Fargo hosted here, so just keep that in mind. Next, value strokes gain tee to green specialist that we have here. First, Paul Casey, priced at 7,800. He ranks 5th in strokes gained tee to green over his last 50 rounds and 53rd off the tee and 2nd in bogey avoidance. This year at the majors, he's got an 11th place finish at the Open, 26th place finish at the U.S. Open, and 6th place finish at the Masters. He's a great DFS play, and definitely he's got a great chance at a top 10 finish, I think, at Quail this week. Next, we have Tony Finau. He has been our guy this year. Strokes gained tee to green, he ranks 4th in the field, 3rd off the tee, 4th in bogey avoidance. With 6 top 10s this year, he has not finished outside the top 50 in an event since May. He was an alternate at the Open. He finished 27th place in that, and I think Tony continues his great play this week. The course fits him really well with the added length, and I think he's a really safe play at 7,000 this week. Lastly, Kyle Stanley, another guy we've been on this year. He's 7th in strokes gained tee to green, 7th off the tee, 17th in bogey avoidance. He's 8th in par 4 scoring, over 500 yards. Stanley won the Quicken Loans last month, and he has had quite a few top 10s this year. And I know today at the WGC, he got off to a rough start. He started at 3 over and battled back to finish under par. So that's all I can say about the WGC. You guys will know how he finished probably by the time you listen to this, but regardless, I like Kyle Stanley this week. Now moving on to the GPP pivots. First, we got Kevin Chappell, priced at 7,000. Chappell, if you look at his strokes gained stats at Quail Hollow, he has struggled here on the green, but has really solid tee to green stats with 19 rounds at Quail Hollow. Another guy that's having a great year. He got a win under his belt in 2017 at the Valero. And I think Chappell's a really good fit for this course. Next, Daniel Berger, priced at 7,700. He ranks 5th in his last 50 rounds on par 4s, over 500 yards. Another guy that's having a great season. And I think the course fits really well for him also. Xander Schauffele, he is priced at 7,500. Someone that the casual fan is not going to be as familiar with. He won earlier this year at the Greenbrier, finished 10th at the U.S. Open, 20th at the British Open, and I think he continues this upward trend at the PGA Championship, and he can string together some great rounds. Next, Lee Westwood. He is priced at 6,900. He is ranked 6th on Fantasy National in total strokes gained at Quail Hollow in his last 10 rounds. And another key stat, he is ranked number 1 in the field in par 4 scoring from 450 to 500 yards. So matches up well with the long par 4s. At 6,900, I think it's a great value for Westwood and a good GPP play. Last, Jason Duffner, priced at 6,700. He ranks 17th in par 4 scoring, over 500 yards in his last 50 rounds. He's a Carolina guy, former PGA champ, and he's just such a good ball striker, having a great season. So I like Duff Daddy this week. Now, I wanted to touch on some of the just eye-opening stats I came across when I started researching, and some stuff that surprised me about golfers that I wouldn't just say I'm fading that guy, I don't like him this week. So it's some stuff that raised my eyebrows. First, of course, the timing on this could not be any worse. But Thomas Pieters, he's leading WGC Bridgestone as I say this. But the stat that stood out to me was his strokes gained tee to green ranks 90th in this field. Now, this is only taking his PGA Tour stat, so keep that in mind over his last 24 rounds. And his overall strokes gained stats have not been good. It's someone I want to keep an eye on for this WGC. If he has another good couple rounds, obviously I'm going to reconsider this, but at the moment, it just really surprised me how poor his strokes gained tee all the way to green stats were. So next, Gary Woodland. In his last 24 rounds, he has been absolutely brutal in all par 4 scoring that's over 350 yards. So everything from 300 over to 500 yards, he is like outside of the top 100 in the field. So something to keep in mind if you're looking at him this week. He did not play well this first round at WGC Bridgestone, which I think is a good gauge on some of those long holes at WGC. You can get an idea of guys that they're going to line up well for Quail Hollow, because you need to be a ball striker. You need to hit it long to give yourself a chance. So, and lastly, Tommy Fleetwood. I know he plays a ton on Euro Tour, so we are just only looking at PGA Tour stats his last 24 rounds, but he ranks 115th in bogey avoidance. And like I said, this is PGA only stats, excluding the Euro Tour, but it could be something to look at. He missed the cut at the Masters, but he obviously did play well at the U.S. Open. So something to keep in mind if you're really considering Fleetwood. I just urge you guys to take a deeper look at these guys. This was just a couple things that stood out to me. So that wraps it up for the PGA Champ. If you guys have any questions, feel free to direct message us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @DailyFantasyPress. Be sure to give us a thumbs up on the YouTube channel. Subscribe if you're not already. We really appreciate the support. And check out our website for articles coming up this week, dailyfantasypress.com. Brandon's going to be writing up some picks that I don't highlight here, and just give an overall summary of the PGA Championship. So I really hope we continue the success of our followers this week. And yeah, really hope you guys enjoy the PGA Champ, and I'll be keeping you guys posted as I'm on site. So best of luck this week.